All right, so we're going to start with our prevalence example. So always start by reading the question. There's obviously essential information in the question. So here we see that in September 2009, 3,500 Temple University freshmen completed an online survey about their health history and health behavior. So I'm just going to make it bigger. The below table contains the number of study participants who responded yes to specific questions in total and by gender. Okay, so here's some important information that we picked out from here. The survey was conducted once in September 2009. That means that we can calculate prevalence from this problem in this survey. We can't calculate incidence because we're not looking over time how health has changed. We also know that our total sample of people in the study is 3,500, and we know that the table demonstrates the people who responded yes to each question. So here you can see the number of topics asked of the students, so unprotected sexual intercourse, current smoking, etc. And we have 3 columns. Here is our total column. So this N is our total number of people in our sample. So of our 3,500 people, each cell shows the number of people who responded yes to each of the questions. We then see by gender, so we can see here that we have 2,000 women in our study, and we have 1,500 men in our study. And again here in each cell is the number of women who responded yes to each question, and then the number of men who responded yes. Okay, so let's move to the question. The question is asking, what is the prevalence of current smoking among all? So let's first look at our formula for prevalence. So our numerator is the number of people with our health indicator, and our denominator is our total population. So in this case, our number of people with the health indicator of smoking is 262. So that becomes our numerator. Our denominator is our total population, and in this case we're not looking by gender, we really are looking in total, so our denominator is 3,500. We can then do that division, and we come out with 0.075, which we can multiply by 100 to end up with 7.5%. So the way to express this answer is that the prevalence of current smoking among study participants was 7.5%, or 7.5% of Temple University freshmen in September 2009 were current smokers. All right, so let's look to our next question. So our next question is a little different in that it's asking us, is the prevalence of unprotected sexual intercourse higher among women or men? So now we've got to calculate 2 prevalence statistics and then compare them. It's a 2-step problem. So let's set out that we're going to look at women versus men. We're going to be drawing from this prevalence formula again. So for women, for the outcome of unprotected sexual intercourse, we can go back up to our table and we can see that 100 women said yes, I have ever engaged in unprotected sexual intercourse. So that becomes our numerator. Our denominator, the total population, in this case we're going to use 2,000 because that is the total population of women. You are looking within the stratum of women or the subgroup of women. So that becomes your denominator. We can then divide, and we end up with 0.050 multiplied by 100, 5.0%. So 5.5% of women in the study sample reported that they had ever had unprotected sexual intercourse. Now remember, it's a 2-step problem, so we need to do the same calculation for men. So among men, the prevalence of unprotected sexual intercourse, we're going to now look at this column. And so our numerator for men is 350. Our denominator comes from the total population of men, so 1,500. We can keep calculating this out. 0.7 0.233. If we multiply by 100, that's 23.3%. So in our study sample, 23.3% of men reported that they had ever engaged in unprotected sexual intercourse. So returning back to the question is asking about, is it higher among women or men? And the answer would be that the prevalence of unprotected sexual intercourse in this sample was higher among men at 23.3% versus 5% for women.